Hi, this is Robin with Senior Safety Advice, and they say that life changes in an instant. I'm here to tell you it definitely does. 5 weeks ago today, I was walking through the store. I had a million errands on my mind, things I had to get done, so I was in a hurry. I wasn't paying attention, and in an instant, over I went, and this is what I've got. Broke my shoulder in 2 places. So, first of all, my tip number 1 is be careful. Don't go so fast. There's always time. If you don't get all your errands done in one day, you can do them in another day. But if you stay tuned, I have some personal recommendations and tips that I've learned from having this broken shoulder that hopefully will help you if you ever find yourself in the same position. So again, this is seniorsafetyadvice.com. Subscribe to our channel. There's a button down there in the corner. You should hit a notification bell as soon as that pops up. It's free to subscribe. We put out a video every Friday with tips and tricks for helping seniors age in place safely, and also with a lot of information for caregivers. We appreciate you being here, and we hope you'll keep tuning in. Anyway, my story, like I said, haste makes waste, as the old adage says. But I broke my shoulder. Ended up that I broke it in 2 places. When you fall, you put your arm out kind of as an instinct, and that rammed my arm into my shoulder, and then it broke the joint itself. So that's why I'm in a sling instead of a cast. But there were some things when I went to look up information about this. You get the standard things like how long will you be in a sling, will you have to have physical therapy, things like that. But there are things, personal tips that I didn't even realize until I had gone through this. So that's what I'm sharing with you today. So the first thing, if you think about it, once you have fallen like that and you're pretty sure something is injured, whether it's dislocated or broken or just really badly bruised, I would tell you take your rings off. When I fell, it was probably about 3.5 hours between the time I fell and the time that I was taken back in the ER. Of course, there's always a waiting time in the ER. So it was about that long, and then they wanted my rings off. And let me tell you, trying to get my rings off, first of all, my fingers were swollen, so it was very difficult. And then you've got this uncasted, no sling injury at that point in time, and I'm trying to pull and get these rings off, and it was very painful. So if you think about it, do that first. Put them somewhere where they'll be safe, in your wallet, or give them to your husband, your spouse, your significant other, your child, whoever's there with you. Something, to keep you safe. Anyway, the other thing is when you're in the waiting room like that, like I was for the ER, you don't know whether the injury is broken, and if it is broken, will it require surgery? So I was there. It was well past dinner time. It was like 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. I hadn't eaten, probably because I was kind of in shock, but I asked the ER nurse whether or not I could have a protein bar that my husband had given me. And she said, oh no, you can't do that, because if we have to put you into surgery right away, you can't have anything in your stomach. So that's my next tip. Make sure before you eat or drink that you ask the emergency room personnel whether it's okay for you to do that. Okay, so driving to the emergency room, every little bump, let me tell you, is painful. Stopping at a traffic light is painful. Going over a pothole is painful, because this is moving around even though you're holding it as close to your body. So if you have a scarf or something like that that is long, that you can tie your arm like this to your body, it would be very helpful for you. I mean, I guess I did okay holding it, but I think it was better once I had something tied around me. So I'm now 5 weeks into this. I still have some minor bruising. The orthopedic doctor told me that likely the bone is still bleeding a little bit inside from the break, because your blood is manufactured in your bones. When you have a break like that, then of course you have an opening, and that's where the bruising comes from, is all of the bleeding from inside the bone where the fracture is. So that's just something to expect. I was surprised about that. Something else is you can't drive. It never occurred to me, but with a broken shoulder, I can't drive because one hand, first of all, it's difficult to turn the car or do whatever single-handed like that. But secondly, in my case anyway, I have to be very careful because the tendon is right there where the fracture is, and the doctor doesn't want me to move too much because she's afraid that that sharp piece of bone may start to slice into the tendon, which will be a whole nother ball of wax that I don't want to get into. So she said if I had to in an emergency, I could, as long as it was a short distance. But I can't drive for, again, at least 6 to 8 weeks. If I were to be rear-ended or have to stop short for a traffic light, that jarring of my body may refracture that healing break, and so you can't drive. So plan on Uber or asking somebody to help you get around to where you need to go. Clothing. I'm having to wear my husband's shirt because it's buttoned down. I don't happen to have any buttoned down ones that go with this warmer weather that we have right now. So you could either have somebody go to Goodwill for you and buy some buttoned down shirts, maybe like 3, that would get you through that 6 to 8 week period, or if you've got a roommate or a significant other that you can borrow their shirts, but you don't want anything that you're going to be pulling over your head because moving this shoulder, you just don't want to do it. The shoulder, the elbow needs to be kept close to the body. You can't do a movement like this, which is what you require to be putting clothes on or taking clothes off over your head. Shampoo. Get yourself some dry shampoo. Yes, I could get into the shower, but to be honest with you, at 5 weeks, I haven't showered. I know, ew, gross, right? It's not that I haven't bathed. I've been doing sponge baths, which my husband's been helping me with because it's difficult to get to certain areas with only one hand, and I can't use the other hand to get there. But at any rate, I'm kind of wary of falling again and right now. And so, again, even if I were to just fall and sit down hard, it could refracture that injury. So I'm just trying to be very wary. So dry shampoo has been my friend. Okay, as far as cooking, things like that, I would tell you, get some plates and bowls, keep them on the counter, glasses, things like that. You're not supposed to pick up anything that's heavier than a coffee cup, and I'm expecting that they probably mean an empty coffee cup, because even just doing this and holding this light thing in my hand, that's okay today, but it really has been bothering me for the last 4.5 weeks. So make sure you just make your life easier and you don't have to lift anything. I made a Mexican casserole for dinner the other night in a nice 13 by 9 pan, and then I couldn't pick it up and put it into the oven. I never thought about the fact it was going to be heavy. So my husband had to come along, put it in the oven, take it back out, and he's been doing the chopping of the food and things because, again, what am I going to do? I can't lean over and cut things. And for the longest time, for probably about the first 4 weeks, I could put no pressure on my arm. I mean, even to plug in my cell phone and things like that, I just could not put that pressure because it hurt that arm so much. So think about getting prepared foods, especially if you're by yourself, or Uber Eats, something that you can just throw in a pan and use one hand to stir it, take it out. Oh yeah, and can openers. Can't use a can opener either for the same reason. Got to have 2 hands so that you can put the can, like hold the can and either use the non-powered one to turn it, but you still have to be able to squeeze with one hand and turn the crank, or you can't reach and put the pressure to use a regular can opener that would have a push down handle. So try not to buy things that are in a can. Scissors are going to be your friend, because I couldn't even open plastic packages or anything like that until probably just about 2 or 3 days ago. So as I told you before, the scarf, tying this around my waist and tying my arm to my body was really helpful. Another thing that was really helpful is you have to sleep sitting up. So I have been putting a folded hand towel underneath my elbow just to kind of support it so my arm doesn't fall back when I'm sleeping. As it is, it's difficult to sleep because it's just painful after you lay there for about 45 minutes, and then you have to move it and your arm is stiff. So think about that. You got to either sit up when you sleep or you got to be in a recliner. Also, you want to make sure you got lotion on hand for whatever reason. I suppose because it's in the sling and it just doesn't get as much natural washing as you normally would have or something, I don't know, but the skin on my arm and my hand has been very dry, so lotion has been a really helpful thing for me. All right, I'm going to read from my list because it's too much for me to remember, but as far as pain when I moved at all, I mean, even breathing was really, really painful for about the first 2.5 weeks. In fact, it's probably only been maybe the last week, so week number 4, that I was able to get around for most of my day without a lot of pain unless you move wrong. And of course, you do these unconscious movements that you don't think about. You got to adjust the sling, so you go like that, move your shoulder. It hurts. so expect that you're going to have pain like that for about the first 4 weeks. I still have minor bruising at 5 weeks. I think I already mentioned that. And pain still at 5 weeks if I move wrong. The orthopedic doctor had told me that gravity was going to pull all of that swelling and bruising, the fluid, down to my elbow, and it was probably going to get painful. And actually my elbow was not really painful at all for about the first 3.5 weeks, but once it hit that, oh my golly. So there are times your doctor will probably have you do some very minor arm exercises. When you do those and you take the arm out of the sling and you straighten your arm out, that elbow is painful, let me tell you. So I've been just kind of working on rubbing that, trying to keep the fluid moving so it's not always pooling there. The other thing is to make sure that you keep your wrist mobile. You want to be sure you're moving your hand back and forth like this. I said wrist, I meant elbow. You want to do that. You do want to keep your wrist flexible too, because you don't want to end up with a frozen wrist, frozen elbow, frozen shoulder. They will tell you the exercises to do, but this is something, not a medical doctor, so I'm not advising you to do this, but ask about it because it has helped me a lot with my wrist and my hand to keep them mobile like this. And then last but not least, here I am, week 5, and it is still very painful to sleep at night. You can't sleep flat. Like I said, you have to sleep sitting up. You fall asleep, you're in one position for whatever, 45 minutes, and then your arm, my arm, has gotten so stiff and sore. So I have to physically grab it, move my body, to turn to a different position. So just be aware of those things. Mostly I say that because I'd never had a broken bone before, and I really kind of thought that by week 3, it wouldn't be painful anymore. It would just be in that healing phase and everything would be fine. So I've been kind of surprised at how long this has dragged out. So anyway, that is the end of my personal tips for now. I hope you never find yourself in this position because it is not fun. Seniors, this is why when your doctor tells you that you need to use a walker or you need to use a cane for whatever reason, do it. I have so many seniors in our dental practice who really, really need this and won't use it because they're worried that it's going to make them look old or whatever. Well, let me tell you what, if you don't do that and you fall and you break a hip, you're going to look awful old sitting in a wheelchair. So just make sure that you stay as safe as possible. Who cares what you look like? The idea is to stay safe and healthy. So again, please subscribe to our channel so you can see our videos and get our hints and our tricks about staying safe as you age in place. Esther and I appreciate you watching our channel. So until the next time, stay safe. Take care. Bye.